Hello, everybody, and welcome to Mystery Ghost Stories. I am, of course, your host, Justin Bienvenu. You may notice two things that are different right away. One, it's not 7 o'clock. And two, where am I recording from? Well, I apologize for not recording earlier. Not that anybody cares. I was a bit preoccupied, and also thought I would still do it at 10 o'clock. And where am I recording from? Just my bed, and this is my room. I always record in my room, just from a different spot. So didn't feel like recording in the usual area, so switching it up a bit. So you can see me. Hopefully you can hear me good enough. That's my one issue. That's my one concern here. But enough of that out of the way. Mystery ghost stories. We are going to the Knickerbocker Hotel, the one in California, Hollywood, California, to be exact. So, without further, I'm skipping for some reason, but hopefully it doesn't. Still skipping. I don't know why. What's going on here? All right. Hopefully it doesn't skip anymore, because that would be really awkward. But let us take a look into the Knickerbocker Hotel in Hollywood. Designed in 1923 by architect E.M. Fraser in the Spanish colonial revival style, the building was built as security apartments but never opened. It was finally completed in 1929 and rechristened the Hollywood Knickerbocker Hotel in June 1929. So they opened it for one thing, but never opened it. Opened it as a hotel instead afterwards. So interesting there. The hotel catered to the region's nascent film industry and is the site of some of Hollywood's most famous and dramatic moments. On Halloween 1936, Harry Houdini's widow held her 10th seance to contact the magician on the roof of the hotel. So that's interesting. On January 13th, 1943, Frances Farmer was arrested in her room at the hotel after failing to visit her probation officer when scheduled. On July 23rd, 1948, filmmaker D.W. Griffith died of a cerebral hemorrhage on the way to the Hollywood hospital after being discovered unconscious in the lobby of the hotel. So we have a seance on the roof. We have a woman arrested because she failed to report to her probation officer. And we have a guy just having a hemorrhage in the lobby, and I froze again. And we're off to a good start. Contrary to popular belief, Rudolph Valentino was not a regular at the bar, as the hotel opened after death in 1926. So several articles state the very same thing. So there's a very popular rumor that's probably been circulating for as long as, 1926, that Rudolph Valentino is seen at the bar and that he haunts the place. But Rudolph Valentino died in 1921 and the hotel opened in 1926. So there's really no way that could have ever happened. So I feel like they're trying to, give the hotel some flair, but you could have picked literally any other celebrity. So not sure what's going on there. The hotel remained it. Excuse me. The hotel retained its glamour through the 1950s. Marilyn Monroe and Joe DiMaggio often met in the hotel bar. On December 1st, 1954, a camera crew from the NBC program This Is Your Life surprised retired comedy legends Laurel and Hardy in room 205 of the hotel. The duo was relaxing there with a couple of friends who were in on the gag. While both comedians were polite throughout the show, Stan Laurel was apparently privately somewhat displeased to be on the television show without his consent or prior notice. Really? A comedy guy who has all this weird 50s shit comedy, he's offended that he wasn't alerted beforehand? Elvis Presley stayed at the hotel, room 1016, while filming his first film, Love Me Tender. 1956. In 1962, sorry, if I just keep saying freeze, so in 1962, celebrity Hollywood costume designer Irene Letts, believed to be despondent over Gary Cooper's death, committed suicide by jumping from her 11th floor room window. Oh, here we go. So, why is it that in ghost stories and hauntings, not only is there always a lady in blue, but when it comes to hauntings and hotels, there's always somebody who just feels the need to jump off a roof or out a window? Again, I don't know. Like, why is this a thing? Why why do people just get so disconnected from the world that when they think of suicide, they're like, I'm gonna go to a hotel and I'm not gonna overdose on pills. I'm not gonna shoot myself in the head. I'm gonna jump out a freaking window. Cause that's normal. Like I don't know. I don't know. On March 3rd, 1966, veteran character actor William Frawley was strolling down Hollywood Boulevard after seeing a film when he suffered a major heart attack. His nurse dragged him in. His nurse dragged him to the hotel where he died in the lobby. Contrary to popular belief, Frawley did not live in the hotel at the time. Although Frawley had spent nearly 30 years living in a suite upstairs, he had moved to the nearby El Royale apartment several months before. Hmm. So this guy, the only reason this guy died in the hotel was because he had a heart attack outside of it, and the nurse rushed him inside the hotel. That's different. In 1968, Graham Nash was staying there the day Cass Elliot picked him up to go to his. That's totally irrelevant. Totally pointless. Why did I even read that? By the 1960s, the neighborhood had deteriorated, and the hotel became a residence primarily for drug addicts and prostitutes. In 1970, a renovation project converted the hotel into housing for senior citizens. In 1999, a plaque honoring Griffith was placed in the lobby. So, it froze again. So, the Hollywood Knickerbocker Hotel is now, as I just told you, it's now a housing for senior citizens, which I find kind of ironic because if there is celebrities haunting the place, the old people that are staying at the apartments in this hotel probably remember the very ghost celebrities that are haunting the place, which I think is kind of cool. Like, hey, aren't you, you know, aren't you Marilyn Monroe? Like, and like the nurse would come in, and a nurse comes in and is like, you know, he said, I saw Marilyn Monroe, and the nurse is just like, sure you did, Bill, sure you did. You know, like it would just be. I just think that's so funny. But all right, I've wasted enough time here. 6 minutes in, Justin, where are the freaking hauntings at? Bear with me. I wanted to give you the history, the little rundown. One thing you may notice, there ain't much hauntings in this one, just like there weren't in the last one, and there wasn't. I honestly thought that this all these hotels would be jam packed with hauntings, and I've been uh, seriously disappointed. They're good. Like there's at least there's something there, but like yeah. All right. So this one just tells you the same thing. For decades, the city of Los Angeles has prevailed. The Knickerbocker Hollywood Hotel was once one of the most popular places. Marilyn Monroe stayed there. Elvis Marino Sullivan stayed there. I'll get to the good stuff. So another one. It's one of those again. It's another one of those articles that just rambles on about like stay at this hotel back in its heyday, like it was popular. But we want to know about the hauntings. So without further ado, here are the hauntings of the Hollywood Knickerbocker Hotel. The rundown old building has no doubt seen better days, but more than a few ones of former residents have stuck around, perhaps nostalgic for the glitz and glamour that once categorized it. What I'm about to read you is just absolutely amazing. I hope you appreciate this as much as I do, because I read this beforehand and it's just so cool. Undoubtedly, one of the friendlier ghosts to pat down the halls of the haunted Knickerbocker Hotel is that of Speck, an English setter dog. During the hotel's heyday in the 1930s and 40s, Speck lived at the hotel with his master, hotel manager Jake Matthews. It was not uncommon for guests to see Speck making his way down the hall, and he often stopped and let small children pet him in the lobby. Speck could also be seen ringing the doorbell to his master's office. Even more impressive, Speck could ride up and down the elevators on his own, using his paw to press the buttons. See, is that not cool? Ever the well-mannered dog, he was said to always let hotel patrons get on and off the elevator before him. According to reports, Speck is just as well-mannered in death as he was in life. Residents of the Knickerbocker have made reports over the years of an old English setter dog riding the elevator with them, and others have spotted him striding down the hall or waiting obediently outside his master's old door. Ghost dog, doing cool things just like he did when he was alive. I don't really I don't even feel the need to read any further because that's just amazing. But I will read more because you want more than just a haunted dog. But that is pretty cool. Like when the dog was alive, he would use his paw. Like that's just so cool. Like to get on the elevator, and he still does it in death. Like what a noble dog. The the ghost dog's more noble and obedient than most living dogs. Speck isn't the only long-term resident of the Knickerbocker to make a cameo. Legendary film director D.W. Griffith, who spent his last years at the hotel, has also been said to make frequent reappearances. So, if you may remember, D.W. Griffith was, I believe, the man who the nurse brought into the hotel because he had a heart attack. Heart attack, wow. So, he did say upstairs in the suite, but did he actually haunt the place? Hmm, maybe he did, because he was brought in there. He spent it. Yeah, I can see that. Newer residents sometimes make reports of a strange, dapper-looking old man in dated clothing hanging out in the lobby, swinging his cane and humming to himself. When asked about the man's identity, long-term employees used to use his regular appearances, usually advised, what? When asked about the man's identity, long-term employees used to his regular appearances, usually advised them to ignore him. That's just old Mr. Griffith, they say. I apologize, I stumbled over my words. I didn't understand what I was reading. Perhaps the most infamous of all to haunt the hotel halls is the ghost of Irene Gibbons. Of all the deaths to occur in the hotel, hers was undoubtedly the most violent, and perhaps the reason her spirit is rumored to lurk there to this day. In 1962, Irene checked into the Knickerbocker for the last time. A decade earlier, she had been a much sought-after costume designer and had dressed stars such as Marlene Dietrich, Ingrid Bergman, and her close friend, Joan Crawford. Hmm. But by the time the 1960s rolled along, much like the Knickerbocker itself, her star had begun to fade. With the intention of ending her own life, Irene checked into the hotel. She drank herself nearly into oblivion, drafted a suicide note, then plummeted from the window to her death. Ever since that day, residents have reported an eerie chill permeating the room, and the odd and ugh, I can't read tonight. Permeating the room, and the odd, inexplicable urge to throw themselves from the window every time they walk by it. So that's the woman that I read in the first article, except they didn't really go into detail about her life. So that's good we get a little more info on that. But imagine the ghosts, you know, imagine feeling the ghost and it being like just so overwhelming that you yourself, when you walk by the window, almost feel the need to jump out of it. Because apparently that's what this woman does. That's the type of energy she has. Other residents have made startling reports of a middle-aged woman in odd clothing, her hair in all disarray, standing in one of the windowsills of the building. Sometimes the apparition simply disappears. Other times, the witnesses rush to the top floor to investigate, only to find no one there. It skipped again. Ugh, I apologize. Didn't skip for you, probably, so no worries. So I actually am reading this article. I'm realizing it's probably definitely better than the first one. Looking like it's better than the last one, too. So let us keep reading because these hauntings are great. But the most upsetting of all, the figure of the woman is sometimes reported to leap from the window and crash onto the roof of the lobby below, where Irene Gibbons met her end nearly 60 years ago. So it sounds like the ghost of Irene Gibbons is a residual haunting sometimes as well. So not only did they just see the ghost woman just chilling in the windowsill like this, but like they actually see her jump out the window and land on the rooftop, which would be a residual haunting. If a ton of people see this, then it means she repeats the same, event over and over. Which is kind of sad because nobody wants to repeat the way they died over and over again. That can't be pleasant. Through the Knickerbocker Hotel's prime, though the Knickerbocker's, oh my God, I need hooked on phonics tonight. Holy crap. Though the Knickerbocker Hotel's prime may have passed, the ghosts of the city's sordid past still linger. And though you're not likely to encounter the spirit of Harry Houdini, keep an eye out for apparitions of English setters, suicide costume designers, and the spirit of famed Hollywood director D.W. Griffith. So that concludes the two articles. One of the reasons I wanted to do this particular hotel is because I'd watched a documentary TV show a few years back, and they had actually said that because you may remember, I said in the article that Joe DiMaggio and Marilyn Monroe stayed here. Frank Sinatra is also said to have stayed at the hotel. A lot of cool celebrities, back in the 60s and 70s, stayed at this hotel. The reason I wanted to do an article on it is because, the reason I wanted to do a video on it is because in the show that I watched, they actually said that Marilyn Monroe, Joe DiMaggio, Frank Sinatra, some other Rat Pack members, and some other, notable celebrities from the 60s and 70s actually are seen, their ghosts are seen in the lobby. Now, clearly I didn't come across that in either of the two articles, so I'm not really sure. I'm not really sure of how accurate and true that is, but clearly, you'd rather hear about Joe DiMaggio or Frank Sinatra haunting this hotel than Irene Gibbons or D.W. Griffith. No offense, you know, no offense to them, but yeah. I think the Knickerbocker would be a really cool place to check out and investigate for a, ghost session, just to see what you would find. Would you find anything? I think you would. I think it's definitely possible. You might see Irene Gibbons jumping to her death from out the window. You might see D.W. Griffith just chilling with his cane, dancing with his top hat. Who knows? This has been the third and final hotel that I will be doing. I cannot talk for the life of me tonight. Holy crap! This is the last hotel that I'm doing for this series, but it is not the last episode of Mystery Ghost Story. That, my friends, will be saved for next week, where we will be going to Willow's Weep. I'm not even going to tell you what that is if you don't know what it is. In fact, Google it. And if you're not completely scared out of your mind, join me next week for the last episode of Mystery Ghost Stories. So again, I hope that for those that watch this live, which looks like one person, but at this point I'm just starting to think it's just me. Thank you for watching. For those that watch this on the playback over on YouTube, you know the deal. You know how YouTube works. Hit like on the video, hit subscribe. I think two people have the entire time that I've done this. And at this point, I feel like I'm Sheldon from The Big Bang Theory doing his little fun with flags segment. No one ever watches, but yet I keep doing them. And I can't for the life of me figure out why. They say to keep doing them, so I'll keep doing them. But yeah, this has been Mystery Ghost Stories. I am, of course, your host, Justin Bienvenu. And until next week.